Assalamualaikum to all the prof and doctors. So we are from group 19 and we're going to present to you about zakatable items and its conditions. So our group consists of 5 people, which is me, Siti Nur Shahira, Nurul Izin binti Abdul Rahim, Ilis Balkish binti Ruzalman, Nur Farah Shakira binti Muhammad Hafiz Sanjid, Nur Alia Umairah binti Muhammad Sobri. There are 2 types of zakats, which is the first one is zakat al-fitri. So, Zakat al-Fitr is an obligatory charity on every Muslim regardless of their age, status and wealth. So, this zakat has to be paid on Ramadan or the latest before Eid prayer was performed. And the second one is Zakat al-Mal, which is this zakat is a charity that depends on Muslims' wealth that owned by an individual or organizations. Amount of zakat that has to be paid by an individual depends on the amount of money and type of assets the individual owns. So the first item that is zakatable is a gold. So there are types of gold that has to be paid zakat, which is the first one is gold that used for savings and investments. Second one is gold jewelry for men and gold utensil and tools. Third is gold jewelry for women, but for this one, if the jewelry is used by the women every day, so it is unnecessary to be paid zakat. And the fourth is excessive amount in the gold jewelry. So nisab for gold is 85 grams. If a person holds more than 85 grams of gold and more than 1 year, they need to pay 2.5% of the gold's worth. But we still consider the current market price for gold for each country. Other gems are excluded from the calculations, meaning that we only calculate the amounts of gold itself.
Silver is one of the items that liable to zakat. Zakat applies to silver in any form such as jewelry, coins and ingots. If a personal item are formed of a mixture of metals, the silver component in the mixture is liable to zakat. The quantity of silver that needs to be owned before zakat is paid is based on one's net worth. The next step is to see if the net assets are equal to or exceed the nisab threshold. Zakat will be imposed on all the property if it equals or exceeds the nisab threshold of 2.5%. Silver items are zakatable is when the silver kept as an investment. Silver are always zakatable in whatever form they maintain as an investment. Next, person user ornaments. Purchased for personal use as ornaments, items containing silver are zakatable. This comprises ornaments and utensils used in the home, such as silver spoons. Next, silver designated for personal use. There are differing perspectives on whether or not silver jewelry held for personal use should be free from zakat. Zakat is owed on this silver according to the Hanafi school. Zakat is not owed on this according to other schools of Islamic law, even if it was used only once in a given year. Next is inventory of the business, also one of the zakatable items. If one have a business, all of the stock in trade including land and real estate purchased for resale is zakatable. Zakat applies to both raw materials and commodities manufactured for sale. Buildings, machinery, automobiles and other business-related assets are exempt from zakat. In theory, every asset purchased to resell for profit is always zakatable at its retail value when a person performs business with it. Usually, these are businesses that have short-term operating cycles because they buy inventory and stock for resale as quickly as possible. Inventory of the business is inventory with intent to resell and to make a profit in the ordinary course of business regardless of what the asset is. Certain types of corporate asset may take longer to resell due to the length of their business and operating cycles. A property dealer, for example, whose business is to buy a property and then flip it on for a short-term profit through a refurb, may take longer to sell the inventory than a grocery shop. Even if it takes 2 years to on-sell, these properties will still be liable to zakat for such a property trader. On their zakat year end, the property trader will be expected to pay zakat on the fair market value of the property.
Good day, Doctor and all. I'm Alia and I'll continue presenting the zakatable items and conditions for cash and banknotes. So a liquid asset such as money can be used for savings, value measurement and exchange. Money, whether it be in the form of paper, coins or something similar, has the same purchasing power as gold and silver. One of the zakatable items is cash or banknotes. One's income and the worth of his zakatable possessions determine how much zakat is due. For those who meet the requirements, the standard minimum amount is 2.5% or 1/40 of the total amount of Muslim savings and wealth. Using cash is one of the common ways to perform zakat. If a person have RM10,000 in his total zakatable assets and has finished the whole period, then he is required to pay zakat of 2.5% of his wealth, which is in total of 250 ringgit. Next zakatable item is bank savings. So money that is kept in savings accounts, fixed savings accounts, current savings, as well as other forms of savings in banks or any financial institution is subject to zakat if it meets the conditions. Nisab of zakat on savings is equal to the value of 85 grams of gold. Zakat is charged at 2.5% on the last balance within a year of savings when there is enough nisab and haul and equals or exceeds the nisab. There are two situations to calculate zakat on bank savings. So first situation is savings in one account. Suppose someone has a savings statement with final balance of 91,000 for the entire period and has exceeded the nisab and in a full year. So this whole year in this example is calculated from 1st January to 31st December. Thus zakat on savings is equal to, we take the last balance which is 91,000 times 2.5% which is equals to 2,275 ringgit. The second situation is savings in multiple accounts. If the depositor have several saving accounts in a bank or other financial institution, it is necessary to add up all the final balances for each savings account. Zakat is imposed when the sum of all the last balances equals or exceed the nisab. For this example, the depositor have three different accounts that have a balance of 5,000, 4,000 and 13,000 respectively, which will have a total balance of 22,000. So the zakat is calculated with the last balance, that is 22,000 times 2.5%, which is equals to 550 ringgit. Note that if the financial institution for any savings has paid zakat on behalf of the depositor, the last balance for the account still needs to be added with the balance of other savings accounts to cover the nisab. This is calculated to nisab adequacy status for the entire savings belonging to the depositor. So that's all from me. I'll pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Next, we will be looking at zakat on food crops and how does it work. If you own a farm, then your crops may also be subjected to zakat. To be very clear, zakat is obligatory on every measured and stored items such as grains, staple foods and fruits, including dates, raisin and similar consumptions. There are two conditions that must be met before zakat becomes obligatory on a person's crop. The amount reaches nisab. A type of grain or fruit doesn't need to be added to other types of fruits or grains to complete a nisab. However, if the crops are of the same origin and kind but of different varieties, like different sorts of dates, then it can be lumped together to meet the nisab and zakat becomes due upon it. The due time of the zakat. The one giving zakat possesses the nisab at the due time of the zakat. Furthermore, fruits given as zakat should be dried. The Prophet ordered that zakat be paid on grapes when they had been dried to become raisins. As for the duration, zakat is due on fruits as soon as it shows signs of ripeness. For crops, it's when they become ripe and hard. Due to these reasons, crops that are destroyed before maturity are not obligated for zakat. However, zakat is still due on crops that are affected even after being kept in a secured and safe space. There are also other three conditions for food crops. 10% zakat is due on crops watered without any efforts by the rain, floods, running water or trees, and plants that get water from the ground. 5% zakat is due on crops irrigated by any means or effort, including bringing water from wells or other sources. 5% is due for what was irrigated by a combination of the two. If equal, method that yields most benefit. If cannot be determined, 10% is due. Next is livestock. In order to qualify for zakat, the conditions that need to be met for the animals are they should be used for milking, breeding or pasturing and not for labour. They should be freely grazing in permissible fields for the most part of the year. They reach the required nisab. No zakat is due on animals that are fed with fodder, bought for or picked from herbage or similar for the most part of the year. No zakat is placed on animals that are hunted on land or fished from the sea. So how does nisab works for livestock? Zakat on an animal varies according to the type of animal and the quantity. For example, if a person has 30 cows at the start of the year, and in due course of the year they give birth to 10 offsprings, then zakat is due on all 40 of them at the end of the year. If you are wondering why, it is because these 10 cows are products of the initial 30, and hence the how that is counted is based on the initial number of cows. This table shows the zakat ruling on camels. From 5 to 9, 1 sheep is due as zakat. 10 to 14, 2 sheep is due as zakat, and the amount keeps increasing, as shown in the table. This ruling is based on the hadith of Anas ibn Malik as recorded in Sahih Bukhari, where he was sent a letter from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq while he was in Bahrain, detailing all the rules of the zakat. If you own any cattle, there must be paid on it as well if it reaches its nisab. If the number of cattle is less than 30, no zakat is due on it. From 30 to 39, 1 tabi. 40 to 59, 1 musina. And the rest is as shown in the table. Lastly, we will be looking at zakat ruling on goats or sheep. No zakat is due if the number of goats or sheep is below 40. However, that changes when the number increases. For example, if the number of sheep reaches between 40 and 120, then 1 sheep is due as zakat on it. If the number of sheep reaches between 121 and 200, then 2 sheep are due as zakat on it, and so on. For zakat to be applied to a goat or sheep, the animals must be 6 months old for sheep and 1 year old for goats. Moving on, we have zakat on wealth loan to others. For that money which one has lent to someone else, the fuqaha have stated that its zakat will be wajib on the lender. However, he will only pay zakat of that amount of money after he receives his loan back. For example, if A lends B 500 ringgit and B pays him back after 5 years, then A will now pay 2.5% of 500 ringgit for those 5 years. Each year would equate to 12 ringgit multiplied by 5, which equals to 62 ringgit 50 cents.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Alice Barkish binti Ruzalman. I'm going to present for the next part, which is any alloy in which the quantity or gold or silver is greater than metals, such as jewelry and so on. This will also form part of zakatable items. If the gold is an alloy, which denotes that it is not 100% pure, but rather than other metals have been used in the process of preparing the gold, then the dominant component will be taken into consideration when it comes to paying zakat. This indicates that in the event that the gold is an alloy, the zakat will be determined not according to the value of the gold itself, but rather according to the value of the component that predominates in the alloy. To put this another way, if the gold is not 100% pure, then this demonstrates that the gold is not pure because it was manufactured using those metals. Because of this, the imposition of zakat on gold will be required in the event that it either outranks other metals or is on par with them in the terms of value. Second, if the metals are added one at a time rather than as part of an alloy, the ratio of gold, silver and other metals that are present is not taken into account. In this case, the payment of zakat will take place only if the total value of the gold and silver is equivalent to the nisab. Zakat is only required to be paid on regular metals and expensive stones if those things are intended to be employed in financial or business activity. So, to conclude, Zakat is only required to be paid on things that are used for benefit of others. This holds true despite that the fact the item is questioned may or not have a monetary worth. Next, mine wealth. Mine wealth is also a form of zakatable items. After being extracted from a mine, zakat must be paid after the value of an ounce of gold or silver reach 20 dinars or 5 ukias. This applies to both gold and silver. A 1/40 payment is due on the day it is removed from the ground. Mine resources such as lead, copper, iron, and arsenic are a few examples of those that are exempt from the zakat tax. This zakat is due to the point where it weighs the least amount. According to the general remark made by the Prophet that, and there is no zakat on what is less than 5 ukias, a 1/40th obligation is due on it rather than a 5th obligation. It can be deduced from this that zakat is applicable to or whenever there are 5 ukias present. It is not necessary to include the year, and the payment is due on the day that it is extracted. According to Al-Akfahasi, the requirement is only related to it once it has been extracted. Hence, the Sheikh means that the year is not a prerequisite by saying that it is not a necessity. After this has happened, zakat must be paid on any gold or silver that is continuously extracted from the same deposit, regardless of how small of an amount it is, right up until the point where the deposit has been worked dry. This obligation remains in place even after the deposit has been completely depleted. If work is begun on another deposit before the amount extracted exceeds the amount on which zakat is required, then there is no obligation to pay zakat on the extracted amount. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So, as a Muslim, we need to pay zakat to complete our 5 pillars of Islam. So, zakat is so important as Allah stated at least 82 times in Al-Quran. So, zakat will be used to help narrow the gap between the rich and poor and also teach sympathy for other people. So, that's all from us, Group 19. Thank you.